Like, so you've been really busy, even though through the lockdown you've got the podcast, you know, which is same time as the album, which is wicked.
Yep.
Shares a lot of cool values with what we try and do. Like, I work with a young person's organisation called the Warren, and the first time I saw you guys was in Hull a few years back.
The dressing rooms were at the Warren.
Yes,
that place was amazing. Was amazing. Yep.
Yeah, so I work with them now, and I first discovered you guys watching you guys play there, and I was like blown away, and the friend I was with was blown away as well, and it's just a wicked sound. And I like the podcast because what you're doing is you've got your producer in there, you're talking to collaborators and stuff as well, like Bishop. What are the goals with that? Is it to inspire? Is it to kind of inform and motivate people? Because that's the vibe I get from it.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, obviously that podcast shares its title with the album. So When You're Gonna, it's definitely a kind of call to arms feel to it. I think it's a thing where for us, it was like throughout this process, like you say, we've been talking to collaborators, just friends, artists and people that kind of generally inspire us. And it was a real thing of these conversations, like how can we kind of join the dots between someone like, say, studying, photography to then becoming like a professional photographer. It's like, I remember when I was studying art, it was like, or studying music, anything, it's like all these conversations that I wish I'd heard when I was like younger. And that there is no straightforward route A to B. It's different for everyone, and it's just kind of believing in yourself and going with that. So it's definitely along those lines. I think it's sort of just hopefully able to educate people and inspire people to kind of just try something maybe they haven't before, or follow that path.
Absolutely.
On their time.
Absolutely. Obviously you've been interviewing other people, but for you yourself, obviously, like, because again, we speak with people, again, range of mental health issues, disabilities, people that have a range of different challenges, issues with gender, all kinds of stuff, identity. So what kind of advice would you give? Because like I say, people are finding new ways to be creative during this time. What's helped you be a bit more creative aside from the podcast, and what advice could you give to young people that are going through a difficult time now, and perhaps using your music as a source of inspiration as well?
I mean, I think it's something where I'm really lucky because I get to live in a house with Bella, who is the bassist in our band. But like, I'm also here with my partner and also our friend Amy. So it's like a thing where I'm really lucky that I'm around people a lot. Yeah. But I mean, maybe it's like a thing where it's like sometimes you don't always want to just talk to people, or it can be kind of heavy to just always be like as a household talking, or, even like maybe like someone, if they're younger, like with their family, I can imagine it's sort of like it gets quite heavy. And I think it's finding pleasure in music and in these ways of communicating that aren't to do with this like verbal, I don't know, like trying to digest actually what the hell's going on. And we've been really enjoying just playing songs around a campfire outside in our garden. And it's like, yeah, we've been finding like these other ways to communicate with each other through art and through music that is just sort of takes your mind off what's going on. I think it's like art therapy exists, and it's sort of, it feels like this really therapeutic thing for us to enjoy together, really. But I would say kind of stay creative, because it's really healthy, and it's a really good way of processing what is going on, because sometimes it's like trying to understand it just makes you more confused.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's definitely a confusing time, but like I say, it's, music can be a good motivator, and I've been asking a few people I've spoken to, aside from your own stuff as well, do you have like a motivation sort of playlist or a couple of songs that you can give me that, like I say, if you have down days just like everybody does, or you're struggling to get up in the morning or whatever, songs that like give you that kick that you need?
Well, I mean, something that we've been talking about, well, not recently, sort of end of last year when we were recording the new album, an artist kept coming up, and it was Robin, and we were sort of saying like Dancing on My Own. It was a song that kind of kept coming up. It was kind of in the ether for us during that time, and still now it's just so powerful. And I think the sentiment of it, particularly right now, is that kind of like dancing on my own, but like we're together in this. It's that kind of solidarity through the loneliness kind of thing. And I think, yeah, probably Robin Dancing on My Own is always, or me, I mean, just like Robin Body Talk, the whole album.
It's good bit, like good, good upbeat stuff, good uplifting stuff. One thing that I was thinking about asking you guys was, because something that comes up a lot with when I speak to young people is definitions of success. You know, how success can be skewed. Like, people look at yourselves and you're a successful band, you know, by all accounts, in terms of what you've been able to achieve. You're touring, you're obviously releasing a new record, you're playing all over the place. I wanted to ask you personally, because obviously you can't necessarily speak to all for all members of the band. How do you define success as a person? What does it mean to you?
Well, I mean, I think this is something that I'm not going to try and define it for the other two, but we do speak about this because it's a thing where, for instance, for us with this band, we feel like right now it is successful because we're sort of following our dream. We're following this mission that we set ourselves however many years ago, kind of thing, but it was on our terms, and it feels like we're kind of following through with these things that matter to us in a way of belief, in a way of ethos. And we work with people that believe in us, and I think we can trust. I think it's a thing where it feels like we're really lucky because we get to work with this team of incredible people that I think are in it for the right reasons. But I think, I think it's kind of, if you feel like things are on your terms and you're in control and you're saying what you feel like needs to be said in the way that it needs to be said and reaching the people that you feel like it needs to reach. I feel like all of those things are kind of true of this project right now, and I feel like in that way it's successful. But I think it's absolutely different for everyone. And even when we first put out our first EP, it was like, for me at the time, because we had self-produced that and we had made that ourselves, for me, like that was just as much of a feeling of success as when we recorded and released our first album, which like someone else produced. You know what I mean? It's like there have been so many points of success, and it's always growing and changing. And I think ultimately just to feel like you're doing the right thing, whatever that is for you, in the right way and for the right reasons.
I like that. That's a nice positive way of looking at it. It's just because it comes up when people have a lot of issues with regards to a lot of mental health challenges, because they look at bands and they think, oh, well, how am I going to get to be there? How am I going to get to do that? And, you know, you've been there as well, you know, when you were like...
No, exactly.
Your first stuff. And I think it's important. Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say, it was like we were actually speaking to my housemate about this the other day, actually, about like, she's a DJ, and it was like a thing of like, she was sort of comparing herself to other people, and it was like, me and Bella just said to her, like, don't ever compare yourself to anyone else. And I think particularly right now with social media and online culture, it's this whole like FOMO culture where it's like, it's all about comparing yourself, and like that you're not actually, makes you feel shit. And I think it's just like, cut the bullshit and just like, you do you, like, believe in yourself and you're enough. Like, but yeah, it's interesting we're talking about it, because we were literally talking about this with our housemate the other day, and it's just so like, never compare yourself. Yeah.
It seems to be a constant in now. I mean, I do it all the time. Other people do it, especially young people are doing it, because obviously there's a lot more around social media and a lot more weight on likes and things like that, and you find people are really struggling with that. So it's really nice to get your viewpoint on it, and that's why I asked, because obviously you guys are a successful band, you've achieved a lot, but it's important to know that you've been through these things and you're understanding them as well, and having those conversations. So yeah, obviously you've got the new record coming out on a more positive note, which is exciting. It sounds like you've built a real family around you, listening to the Martyr podcast and stuff. It sounds like it's a nice family vibe. So can you tell me about some of the highlights you've had? Obviously, sort of pre-lockdown and all this. Some of the highlights with the new record and recording. So when you're gonna, some highlights to look back on, not just a year from now, 2 years from now, and beyond that.
I mean, I think primarily, obviously this was talked about on the podcast, but I think just getting to work with Marty Solonghi, she is just an amazing person, let alone an amazing producer. It's sort of like, I think for us it was a bit of a dream come true, and I think it was kind of like support your local bad bitch for us. It was a way of us kind of practicing what we preach, working with this amazing team of women. Grace Banks engineered as well, she was brilliant, and it was a thing where I think probably just some of the conversations we had around the songs in the room, it was like there was a real sense of fun and like a sense of sharing as well. It was like, it just felt like we were all engaged in this conversation and like making this thing together, and there wasn't like a hierarchy. And we've all been in experiences, maybe recording, where that has been a situation and it makes you feel uncomfortable and like you can't get your best. So I think just the experience as a whole, working with Martin and this amazing team of women, like for us that was a dream come true. And that was the only way we could have made this record. But yeah, I mean, like just stuff like we were obsessed with we'd always go on a cookie run. Like we were obsessed with getting these cookies from the cafe down the road. It'd be like a point in the afternoon when like the energy drops, and it would be like cookie run, like.
Yeah, nice.
So it was this really funny little family. But I think ultimately, just the best thing was being able to sort of practice what we preach in a I guess a world where, you know, less than 5% of records are produced by women. For us, it was really, really important to work with her on this, and I feel proud of that decision. And just very good times with her, and a kind of lifelong friend now.
That's amazing. That's what you want out of these, you know, experiences, isn't it? To have those beautiful moments with people.
Oh yeah, it seems like a bit of a, I don't know, a cliche or something to say that, but it just really was a dream.
Yeah, man. Like I say, I'm happy for you for that as well, because those connections beyond the recording, which is obviously amazing, and hopefully it'll reach, you know, lots and lots of people as you've been able to do so far. But like just having those connections which could last, you know, years, decades, you know, that's wicked.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, another one where you can't necessarily speak for the whole of the band, but I wanted to ask, you know, you yourself, how have you personally kind of grown and developed? You know, I was going to sort of reference particularly the self-titled record and whatever, but although for like the very beginnings of your career, very beginnings of you becoming a musician, how have you changed and developed as a person, and what have you learned about yourself? Both on a musical level, but also as a person through the music,
interesting.
Right up until now.
Okay, well, this is interesting. I'm trying to think how to put this. I don't think I've ever answered this question before. It's interesting because when I grew up in Somerset, I was a bit of a loner. Mostly my friends were people I was in bands with. Like I really just connected with people through music. So I think all my life that's been a major source of my community. But I think I've always kind of felt like an outcast. And I think with Dream Life and maybe more recently, I feel like much more able to embrace people and be open to people rather than maybe just kind of closed off actually. And I think it's made me a much warmer person. I think sharing in the love of music with so many people, it's an honor to be able to do that so much, and I'm so grateful. But I think it's this thing where actually it's actually made me a much warmer person, and I would say on a personal level that's a really good thing. But also I think in terms of like my story as a guitarist, I mean, I think I never thought I'd be playing through a Marshall amp. I never thought I'd be playing a Fender through a Marshall amp. I was like always really, I would store my guitars up and like gut them and replace them with like different, it would be kind of like I studied sculpture at uni. So nice. It was quite a physical thing for me with guitars. It was about sort of taking them on physically and sort of owning them, and they'd always counterbalance because they were like right-handed and I'm left-handed. It was like it was just like they were never right, but that was part of it. Was kind of taming the beast for me a bit, you know. And now it's kind of like Fender just let me try this amazing guitar out while we were recording, and it's totally converted me. I never thought guitar could like feel so smooth. But I would say it's like in that way I've kind of opened up to other ways, and maybe I'm less sort of closed off in many ways as a guitarist and as a person. I think just a lot of love surrounding for this thing.
Yeah, music's kind of, you know, sort of freed you up a little bit and opened you up. Definitely, I get that, absolutely. Like I used to be super nervous because I have cerebral palsy. So basically, I was always like, I'm going to be in a band one day. And then I left it, you know, till sort of my late 20s. And then I was in a band. And then I went on tour in like Asia. And I was like, this is mental. I never thought I'd be doing this. And like, it's so cool to have, you know, working with the Warren. I actually came back to the country to work with the Warren and do that. So it's lovely when you can achieve things that you probably never thought you were able to do.
Exactly. Like, exactly. It sort of just keeps snowballing and you surprise yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like going back on that, so similar to a couple of questions ago with regards to motivations, obviously outside of music, you talked about working on guitars, you talked about obviously creating those connections, obviously the podcast is one now as well. What motivates you outside of music, particular people, places, spaces, you know, places that you love to be? What are the motivations that you're drawing from most at the moment?
I mean, I think it was a thing when we were touring a lot. I just absolutely loved seeing, you know, different cultures, different ways of being, ways of understanding. And like I said, in this way of kind of opening up, I think it's just incredible all the different ways there are in this world and different cultures. And I think it's interesting in lockdown, maybe now being very still within that. And I think just, I don't know, I mean, I guess just trying to kind of, I don't know, it's like most of what I do is to do with music. So it's like a thing where I'm trying to answer this in a way that's like, because for instance, right now as a house, we've been playing a lot of music together. And when I'm on tour, I will mix a lot of other people's stuff, or like remix and write music on the road. So it's like a way of kind of absorbing and connecting voices, maybe in a non-physical way. And that's something that I've continued to do through lockdown. So it's something where like Raquel, say, will send me some vocals and I'll be sat in my garden playing acoustic guitar to them. So it's like the displacement, I think it's hard I know it's like it sounds really stupid to say, like, oh, that's all like, but I mean it's kind of like different things are just very connected through music. And I think it's probably when I go out for a run or something, that's probably like the only time I'm not necessarily like thinking about music so much. And I would say like physical activity is something that is really feels really positive right now and motivates me. Like, I mean, a live show is highly physical, so I guess that's sort of this other side of, you know, when we're out with the live shows and touring that I can kind of carry through, and it feels good to. But I think, yeah, I mean, just the different ways we can still make music with each other now, I think is something that still motivates me to find that connection. But I think, yeah, just, I mean, maybe like making fajitas with my housemates.
Fajitas, great, man. Yeah, absolutely. Love fajitas, absolutely. Do you have any kind of favourite movies that you go back to or things like that, or is it mainly, are you mainly a music person?
I mean, I love David Lynch. We all actually love David Lynch. Like in early interviews, I remember like when people would be like, "Who are your inspirations?" We'd be like, "The powerful women of David Lynch." Like, yeah. I think David Lynch is always great. Trying to think. I mean, me and Bella, what have we watched recently? We actually watched Tiger King.
Oh yeah, That
was pretty intense.
No.
I don't know if watched it, but yeah.
They were going to do a scripted version with it. Was it Nicolas Cage or something?
Wait, are they?
Something, yeah. I can't remember who. I'm pretty sure it's Nicolas Cage, but they're definitely doing a scripted version. So you should look out for that for sure. Awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, mostly just sort of trying to have a nice time singing songs together. But yeah, Tiger King has been really great right now.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple more questions up, just because, like, obviously, it's just nice to talk to you about it. A bit more of a kind of a challenging one in terms of your mission statement, because obviously, you know, you've probably all members of the band have kind of changed and developed over time. You obviously do a lot of campaigning for non-binary and like different communities and stuff, and that's fantastic. And again, fits with our values quite a lot as well. What challenges do you face, obviously aside from the lockdown, which is a massive challenge for any band right now, in terms of your mission statement and what you're trying to achieve? You know, getting the message out there, supporting, women in music, and doing lots of really good work and campaigning and being part of, loads of events like 53 Degrees North, where I first found you guys. What challenges do you face as a band at the minute?
I mean, yeah, it's a pretty weird question to answer right now.
Yeah,
I think mostly it's a thing where with the live show came the opportunity to actually have and hold the conversation with the people that were coming down to the shows, and there was a real kind of, I know it's obviously amazing that, and it's amazing for bands now that during this time, like, we can still communicate with fans, we can still engage with our community. But I think for me, the thing that I know we all really miss is the live show, in that way of it's just how real that is and how it just cuts through the bullshit. You know what I mean? It really matters. I think that real happening and sharing in that conversation with people. So I think that's probably like something that it's all well and good us doing a podcast and holding the conversations, like, which we're still upholding these conversations, but there's nothing quite like playing an amazing show and everyone is just on board with this feeling, and you're all feeling that together. And I think that just is, it's going to be absolutely euphoric when we can do that again. But I think, that's a detriment to us right now, I think. I mean, but to live music.
Yeah. Anyway. It's challenging time. We've been hosting some live streams, and I know there's a lot of people doing live streams and stuff, like acoustic live streams for the NHS, which is fantastic. But I think a couple of days ago we had our first live band. And it was just because all four members of this band happened to live together. that they, you know, could play as a full band, but it was so odd hearing, it's only been 7 weeks, and it's so odd hearing full guitar, full bass, full drums, everything, like, and vocals together. It's pretty surreal, because we've just had a bunch of acoustic streams, but yeah, it's crazy, man. But it's nice that people are rallying together and doing a lot of work for NHS, which is fantastic. But yeah, finishing off, bit more of a sort of a general question. You know, what have you been talking about doing after lockdown? What are your plans? Are you gonna see obviously you're gonna see family and stuff, but are you obviously gonna be promoting the record and touring and stuff? What kind of things have you been talking about in lockdown for when you get out?
I mean, obviously playing shows is what we're all itching to do. I mean, it would just be really nice to like actually see each other, because right now Raquel's in Iceland, so she is with her family over there, and it's like, it's just strange. Like, obviously we went from this time where we were seeing each other like so much during the build up, like obviously releasing Sports and the early singles from this record, and I'm just really excited to hang out with everyone together, and like the team and the crew, and like have a drink or something, like just have a pint or something.
Just go to the pub, man. Absolutely.
I'd love to like go to a park and sit in a circle with friends and just like be in the sun on the grass, like in as close proximity as possible to like all of our friends.
It's funny because you can go out, Carly, you can go out and stuff and have a little walk, but nothing like, you know, spreading out like starfishing on the grass or something. It's weird.
Embrace.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to like hugging my mum. It's not very rocky. I'm really excited to hug my mum. Do you know what I mean? I'm dead excited about that. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to the record. And we'll catch up soon. And I'll because people still talk very fondly. The people at the Warren, you know, talk fondly about you guys and the events. So I'll pass on my best as well. Or I'll pass on your best to them.
Very much, John.
Cool. All right. Take care. All right. I'll see you soon. Bye.